Hi and welcome to PJ Maybe's YouTube channel. I'm finally going to do my Chandra deck. I've got every Chandra card that I can find. I think I've got them all, but if there's anything missing in this list, please let us know. I got the Chandra spellbook. There is a few in that I've left out because although they don't mention Chandra, they're obviously not really designed for Commander. Although they've got Chandra artwork, they basically mention it gets one extra mana for every card of the same name in the graveyard, considering you only get one of each card. I could put them in. One of them gives two mana for one, so it's a wee bit of mana ramp, but you would get another mana for every card in your graveyard with the same name. No good. There's other ones that does a similar idea, so I've left them out because they're not actually Commander playable. So if you see anything missing, leave a comment. If you like what you see, give a thumbs up. And at the end of each of my videos I always say I'm not old, I'm classic, but today, because of the font on the cards, I'm going to be old and put my glasses on to read these. So what I'll do is I'll go over them and I'll put an image up of each of the cards as I'm talking about it. Right, so my commander is Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh. Whenever I cast a red spell, I can untap her, and her ability is I can tap her and deal 1 damage to a target player. And it says if Chandra has dealt 3 or more damage this turn, exile her and return her to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. We had a bit of a discussion with this one because it says if Chandra has dealt 3 damage. Considering I've got a lot of Chandra planeswalkers, it doesn't specifically say if this card does the 3 damage. We ruled in the group that it means this card, but if I'm wrong, please let us know. Put it in the comments. We looked up the rules, we couldn't see anything specifically about this card, but it does mention Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh deals 1 damage to a target player. Then it says if Chandra has dealt. So does that mean any Chandra card that's on the board, any of my planeswalkers? If it does, it just means this can transform very quickly, but let us know what you think. Okay, so when it transforms and comes back on, it comes back on as Chandra Roaring Flame. It's a 4 loyalty, +1 does 2 damage to a target player, -2 does 2 damage to a target creature, and -7 does 6 damage to each opponent. And each opponent or each player dealt damage this way gets an emblem saying at the beginning of your upkeep, this emblem deals 3 damage to you. So it'd be nice to get it maximised, but I've never actually once managed to get a planeswalker maximised. So that's the commander. We'll look at the other cards. I think I've got 15 all in all, but I can't remember if that's actually including my commander, but we'll see. Anyway, the first one is Chandra, Acolyte of Flame. It's got 4 loyalty, and for 0 you can put a loyalty counter on each red planeswalker you control. Ideal, bump it up a bit. For another 0 I can create 2 1/1 red elemental creature tokens. They gain haste and I can sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. Sorry, beginning of the next end step. So they go at the end of this turn, so it's just the way the wording is. It's just quite Anyway, -2. You may cast target creature, its instant or sorcery card with converted mana cost of 3 or less from your graveyard. If this card would be going to your graveyard, exile it instead. So it allows me to actually cast another spell. Next one is Chandra, Flame Artisan. It's got 4 loyalty. And its ability is whenever 1 or more loyalty counters are removed from Chandra Fire Artisan, she deals that much damage to target opponent or planeswalker. And for a +1, exile top card from your library that you may play at this turn. -7, exile the top 7 cards from your library, you may play them this turn. Next one is Chandra Novice Pyromancer. It's got 5 loyalties, and for a +1, elementals you control get a +2/+0 until the end of turn. For a -1, add 2 red mana. For a -2, Chandra Novice Pyromancer deals 2 damage to any target. Then we've got Chandra Heart of Fire. It's 5 loyalty. For +1, discard your hand, then exile the top 3 cards from your library. Until end of turn, you may pay cards exiled this way. You got a rubbish hand, easy way to actually improve it. For another +1, Chandra Heart of Fire deals 2 damage to any target. And for a -9, search your graveyard and library for any number of red instants and or sorcery cards. Exile them, then shuffle your library. You may cast them this turn and add 6 red mana. Next one, Chandra Flames Catalyst. Chandra Flames, it comes in with 5 loyalty. For a +1, deals 3 damage to each opponent. For a -2, you may cast red instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. If this spell should be put in your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. And for a -8, discard your hand, then draw 7 cards. Until the end of turn, you may cast spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. Be a nice one, that one. Next one is Chandra Awakened Inferno. It's 6 loyalty, and it says this spell can't be countered. So if I can manage to get it out, there's nothing they can do to stop it. Anyway, +2. Each opponent gets an emblem with at the beginning of your upkeep. This emblem deals 1 damage to you. So even after this comes off the board, the emblem's still there, so it still does the damage. Put that out a couple of times, and that way each upkeep they're getting 2 damage. -3, Inferno deals 3 damage to each non-elemental creature, which is ideal because all the creatures that aren't Chandra related are elementals, and as far as I'm aware, I've only got a few either humans or hounds and stuff like which are Chandra cards. So there's not a lot in my deck creatures that aren't elementals, so it should be okay. -X deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker. If a permanent dealt damage this way would die this turn, put it into exile it instead. Then you got Chandra Flames Fury. It's 4 loyalty. For a +1, it deals 2 damage to any target. For a -2, it deals 4 damage to target creature and 2 damage to that creature's controller. And a -8 is it deals 10 damage to target player and each creature that player controls. Then you've got Chandra Bold Pyromancer. It's got 5 loyalty. For a +1, add 2 red mana and it deals 2 damage to target player. For a -3, it deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. And a -7, it deals 10 damage to target player and each creature that planeswalker that player controls. Very similar to the Flames Fury, so another good one. Then we have Chandra Pyrogenus. However that's pronounced. I've went over that a few times. Is it Pyrogenus or Pyrogenus? But don't know. Anyway, it's 5 loyalty. It's got a +2. Deals 2 damage to each opponent. -3 deals 4 damage to target creature. Or a -10, it deals 6 damage to target player and each creature he or she controls. Another one that does damage across the board if I ever maximised it, but who knows. Anyway, next one is Chandra Pyromaster. It's a 4 loyalty. +1, it deals 1 damage to target player and 1 damage to up to 1 target creature that player controls. That creature can't block this turn. For 0 ups is exile the top card from your library. You may pay it this turn, or play it this turn even. And -7 is exile the top 10 cards from your library. Choose an instant or sorcery card exiled this way, copy it 3 times, and you may cast it without paying its mana cost. So that would be a nice one to get again, but same idea. How often do you get to max out your planeswalkers? Anyway, next one, Chandra the Firebrand. Comes in with 3 loyalty. For a +1, it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. For a -2, you may cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell, you may choose a different target for it. Nice one for that one. -6, it deals 6 damage to each of up to 6 target creatures and or players. Does damage. That's Chandra's right across the board. It's an aggro deck, so damage all over the place. Anyway, Chandra Flamecaller. It comes in with 4 loyalty. For a +1, you put 2 3/1 elementals. They have haste, and you exile them at the beginning of your next end step. For 0, discard all the cards in your hand, then draw that many cards +1. So get rid of a dodgy hand and get maybe extra something decent. -X is it deals X damage to each creature, including mine, so last resort that one. So yes, you could do it straight away, -4, and get rid of a lot of fairly, especially if somebody's got a token deck, can wipe that out. Anyway, Chandra Touch of Defiance, that was from the spellbook, and it comes in with 4 loyalty. For a +1, you exile the top card from your library. You may cast this card. If you don't, Chandra deals 2 damage to each opponent. For another +1, you get 2 red mana. For a -3, it deals 4 damage to target creature. For -7, you get an emblem that says whenever you cast a spell, this emblem deals 5 damage to any target. Then the last 2 are Chandra Ablaze. It comes in with 5 loyalty. For a +1, you discard a card. If it's a red, it is discarded this way. Chandra Ablaze deals 4 damage to target creature or player. It's a mono red deck, so -2, each player discards his or her hand, then draws 3 cards. And then for -7, cast any number of red instants and or sorcery cards from your graveyard without paying their mana cost. And the last one is Chandra Nalar. Somebody says that was one of the first Chandras out. I am not entirely sure, but I would assume it's right because I have got the Chandra figure and it's Chandra Nalar, so correct me if I'm wrong, people. Anyway, it comes in with 6 loyalty, and for a +1, it deals 1 damage to target player. For a -X, it deals X damage to target creature, or for a -8, it deals 10 damage to target player and each creature he or she controls. Seen that before as well. So that's the Planeswalkers. So apart from the commander, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 Planeswalker plus the commander, which is 16. So that's all my Chandra Planeswalkers. We'll now look at the Chandra creatures. We have got Chandra's Firemaw. It's a 4/2, has haste, and when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library and or graveyard for a card named Chandra's Flames Catalyst. Reveal it and put it into your hand. If you search the library, shuffle it. Next one is Chandra's Embercat. It is a 2/2 and elemental cat, and you tap it and it adds 1 mana, 1 red mana, and if this mana can only be used to cast elementals or Chandra Planeswalkers. Next one is Chandra Spitfire. It's a 1/3 flyer, and when an opponent is dealt non-combat damage, Chandra Spitfire gets a +3/+0 until the end of turn. So if you've got a few Planeswalkers out who does the damage, that can actually become a +6 or +9. So handy card to have. Then you've got Chandra's Pyrelings. My pronunciation is terrible. Anyway, it's a 1/3, and its ability is when a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, Chandra's Pyreling gets a +1/+0 and gains double strike until the end of turn. Same idea, it can bump up a few bits. Next one is Chandra's Magma. It's a 2/2 elemental dog. and you can tap it and deals 1 damage to target player or planeswalker. Next one is Chandra's Phoenix. It is a 2/2 flyer and it has haste. And it says, whenever an opponent is dealt damage by a red instant or sorcery spell you control, or by a red planeswalker you control, returns Chandra's Phoenix from your graveyard to your hand. A recurring, but then again a lot of Phoenixes are like that. Then the last creature I've got, which is Chandra named, is Chandra's Incinerator. It's a 6/6 and it says this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total amount of non-combat damage dealt to your opponent this turn. Considering it's a 6 mana, 1 mana, 5 colourless, that could be coming as for 1 if you're lucky. It has got Trample, and it says whenever a source you control dealt non-combat damage to an opponent, Chandra's Incinerator deals that much damage to target creature or planeswalker that player controls. So you can double the damage up. So we'll look at the artifacts now, and there's only one Chandra artifact, and that's Chandra's Regulator. Whenever you activate a loyalty ability of a Chandra planeswalker, you may pay 1 colourless. If you do, copy that ability. You may choose a new target for that copy, and for 1 in tapping it you may discard a mountain card or a red card and draw a card. So if you've got a lot of mana spare, once you do it you can just do the damage and just keep playing all your Chandra's stuff out. Then the only Chandra enchantment I've got is Oath of Chandra, legendary again, and when Oath of Chandra enters the battlefield it deals 3 damage to target creature an opponent controls, and at the beginning of each end step, if a planeswalker entered the battlefield under your control this turn, Oath of Chandra deals 2 damage to each opponent. So as I said, I've got 15 planeswalkers, so hopefully do the damage. And I've got a couple of cards that will allow me to go hunting for Chandra ones in there if they're in my graveyard, so it can recur them. So next ones we'll look at sorcery. We've got Chandra's Revolution. It's a sorcery, deals 4 damage to target creature, tap target land, that land doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. We've got Chandra's Ignition. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each other creature and each opponent. So hopefully get a nice card out, buff it up, and then do the damage with that. Then you've got Chandra's Flame Wave. It deals 2 damage to target player and each creature that player controls. Then search your library and or graveyard for a card named Chandra's Flame's Fury, reveal it, put it into your hand. If you search your library that way, shuffle it. Then you've got Chandra's Outburst. It deals 4 damage to target player or planeswalker, and you search your library and or graveyard for a card named Chandra Bold Pyromancer, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle if you've searched your library. So now we'll look at the instance, and first one is Chandra's Triumph. It deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, but it deals 5 damage to a permanent instead if you control a Chandra planeswalker. Then we've got Chandra's Defeat. It deals 5 damage to target red creature or planeswalker. If that planeswalker is a Chandra planeswalker, you may discard a card if you do draw a card. Not played another Chandra deck, or somebody that's actually had them, I must admit, within our playgroup, so I seem to be the only red player. Then you've got Chandra's Outrage. It deals 4 damage to target creature and 2 damage to creature's controller. Then we've got Chandra's Pyrohelix. It deals 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 targets. Then you've got Chandra's Fury. It deals 4 damage to target player and 1 damage to each creature that player controls. So that is the ones that are named Chandra. So we have got a few others. These ones are Chandra related, and forgive me my pronunciation of these. It's Karplausen Hound. It is a 3/3. Whenever it attacks, if you control a Chandra's Planeswalker, this creature deals 2 damage to any target. Then you've got Renegade Firebrand. It's a 3/2 human. As long as you control a Chandra Planeswalker, it gets a +1/+0 and has first strike. And then you've got Keral Keep Disciples. It's a 4/3 human monk. Whenever you activate a loyalty ability of a Chandra Planeswalker, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. So that's the ones that are named Chandra, or it's got Chandra in the text. Right, we've got a couple of other sorcery ones here. A couple of them with Chandra artwork, one of them it's Chandra specific. The Chandra specific one is Liberating Combustion. Liberating Combustion deals 6 damage to target creature, and you may search your library and or graveyard for a card named Chandra's Pyrogenius, reveal it and put it into your hand, shuffle your library if you had to do it that way. Then you've got 2 of the artwork from the spellbook, and you've got Fiery Confluence. Choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. So your 3 options are deal 1 damage to target creature, or deal 2 damage to each opponent, or destroy target artifact. So you can choose one of each, or you can choose whatever way you want with that. Then the last one is Past in Flames. Each instant and sorcery card from your graveyard gains flashback until the end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to its mana cost, and this one has flashback also for 5 mana. Then we've got an instant from the spellbook, which is Pyroblast. Choose one. You can either counter target spell if it's blue, destroy target permanent if it's blue. So that's the ones that are specifically Chandra or Chandra artwork, or mention Chandra within the body of the text. So I'll look at the rest of my cards. We'll start with the artifacts. You've got a legendary artifact, which is the Chain Veil. At the beginning of your end step, if you didn't activate a loyalty ability of a planeswalker you control, you lose 2 life. But for 4 and tapping it, for each planeswalker you control, you may activate one of its loyalty abilities once this turn, as though none of its loyalty abilities have been activated this turn. So I'm always hoping I'm going to have a Chandra Planeswalker out when this card's in the deck, but you never know. Next one is Pyromancer's Gauntlet. If a red instant or sorcery spell you control, or a red planeswalker you control, would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals that much damage +2 to that permanent or player instead. I deal with in conjunction with the planeswalkers. And then the last artifact is Soul Ring. Don't need to explain Soul Ring, everybody knows it. Right, we'll look at another 2 I've got. Creatures, human creatures, and to me they don't necessarily fit in, but the artwork or the way they play I thought quite well. So you've got Young Pyromancer. That came from the Planeswalker, the Chandra spellbook, so that does fit in, but the artwork is not great. But anyway, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 red elemental creature token. So it allows you to bump up your elemental tokens. And then you've got Planebound Accomplice. It's a 1/3. The Young Pyromancer was a 2/1. This is a 1/3, but it's got an activated ability for 1 red mana. Whenever you put a planeswalker, you may put a planeswalker card from your hand onto the battlefield, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So yes, you put it down, do one thing with it, and then it's gone. But with some of them, you can actually get them back from the graveyard. So if you've got the card so it can recur it, why not actually put it out for 1, do a wee bit of damage in the graveyard, then bring it back out again. Then we'll just look at the rest of my enchantments. You get Impact Tremors. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, Impact Trainers deals 1 damage to each opponent. Then you've got Street Riot. As long as it's your turn, creatures you control gain a +1, +0 and have trample. And one of my favourites is Mana Echoes. When a creature comes into play, you may add 1 colourless mana to your mana pool for each creature you control that shares a creature type with it. I used to have that in my Goblin deck and it was quite powerful, but I thought I would change it to my Elemental deck and use the mana with things like the Regulator and such like. It's just a way to try and get a wee bit of a boost. Then we will look at the sorceries, not related to Chandra at all, apart from the red. Anyway, you've got Warlord's Fury. Creatures you control gain first strike until the end of turn and draw a card. Then the next one is Brass's Bounty. For each land you control, create a colourless treasure token with sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Just mana ramp. And then you've got Blasphemous Act. This is the one, it's 8 and a red. And this spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature in the battlefield, and it deals 13 damage to each creature. So that's the spells. The rest of them now are creatures and they're all elementals. So we'll just go through the elementals quickly. You've got Triceratops. It's basically elemental dinosaur, a 2/3, and it's got trample, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on it. You've got Lavakin Brawler. It's a elemental warrior, a 2/4. Whenever it attacks, it gets a +1/+0 until the end of turn for each elemental you control. Then you've got Bright Earth Banneret, which is a 1/1 elemental warrior, and basically elemental spells and warrior spells you play cost 1 less to cast. Then you've got Reinforce 1, costs you 2 mana. Discard this card, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Then you've got Valakut's Predator. It's a 2/2 elemental. It's got landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, it gets a +2/+2 until the end of turn. That was quite good over. I got it out fairly early and it kept doing the 4 damage right across the board. It stayed in it until somebody put a board wipe, so I did not too bad with that one the last game. Then you've got Flamekin Blade Whirl. It's an elemental warrior 2/1. As an additional cost to cast this, reveal an elemental card from your hand or pay 3. Hoping to always have an elemental in my hand when I'm playing it. Then you've got Scorch Spitter. It's a 1/1 lizard and elemental lizard. Whenever it attacks, it deals 1 damage to player or planeswalker it is attacking. Then you've got Lightning Mare, elemental horse 3/1. This spell can't be countered. Lightning Mare can't be blocked by blue creatures, and Lightning Mare gets a +1/+0 until the end of turn for the cost of 2 mana. Then you've got Obsidian Fireheart. It's an elemental 4/4, and for 3 mana, put a blaze counter on target land without a blaze counter on it. For as long as that land has a blaze counter on it, it has, at the beginning of your upkeep, this land deals 1 damage to you. So, and don't know how do we get rid of the counters, but I'm sure there's some way. Anyway, you've got Bogarden Rager. It's an elemental 3/4. It's got flash, and it comes into play, a target creature gets a +4/+0 until the end of turn. So ideal if you've got one melee blocker, flash that one in and the small blocker suddenly more powerful. Then you've got Soulbright Flamekin. It's an elemental shaman and it's a 2/1, and for 2 mana, target creature gains trample until the end of turn. If this is the 3rd time this ability has resolved this turn, you may add 6 red mana to your mana pool, so you can activate it 3 times and then get the mana back. So you can give 3 of your creatures trample, then get all the mana back. So it's a way to actually boost 3 of your creatures just prior. Then you've got Runaway Steamkin. It's an elemental 1/1. Whenever you cast a red spell, if Runaway Steamkin has fewer than 3 +1/+1 counters on it, put another one on. And you can remove 3 +1 counters from it at any point and add 3 red mana. Then you've got Scourge of the Geyser Reach. It's a 3/3 elemental. It gets a +1/+1 for each creature your opponent controls. So somebody's got a lot of big beasts in there, put that on and then give it trample. Then Seismic Elemental. It's a 4/4 elemental. When it enters the battlefield, creatures without flying can't block this turn. And then the last creature is Cinder Elemental. It's a 2/2 elemental, and for X and 1 red, and you can sacrifice it, and it deals X damage to target creature or player. That's the deck. The only thing that's left is the lands, and there's 34 of them, and they're all basic mountains. Nothing fancy otherwise. I didn't see the need to put any fancy dual lands or anything like that. So that's my deck. If you think I've missed anything, please let me know. If you think there's something in there that should be taken out because it doesn't match with the Chandra theme, please also let me know. I'm quite happy to take anything to make this the best Chandra deck I can get. If there's anything missing, leave a comment. I'll be looking for any card that comes out it's Chandra related. I do a search every so often to see if there's anything I've missed. But if you like what you see, please give it a thumbs up. And even though I'm wearing glasses, please remember, I'm not old, I'm classic. PG may be out.